All right, I'm excited to be here today with my new friend, Ryan Starr. So, Ryan is the founder of Stationhead. It's a platform that revolutionized radio so they could deepen artist-fan connections. Draws from his experience as a successful recording artist. He's a Brooklyn-based innovator, inspired by his journey as a rock frontman with chart-topping hits and a global fan base. He realized there's a need for more authentic connection and engagement in traditional radio. So he created a platform called Stationhead. Stationhead empowers artists to connect with their true fans, and it's a cutting-edge tool that allows you to have more personalized, meaningful interactions. And so excited to connect with them today, talk a little bit more about artists, especially indie artists nowadays, when there's like a sea of noise and everyone's trying to figure out how do we cut through the noise? How can artists actually connect in a more authentic way with their biggest fans and build a stronger relationship? So Ryan, thank you so much for taking the time to be here today.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So, yeah, maybe to kick things off, could you share just a brief introduction to starting Stationhead and what was the main problem that you're looking to solve?
Yeah, hearing the intro and the bio, I'm like, yeah, it's pretty
Yeah.
fun, but I guess that question wasn't answered yet. So for me, I was like you mentioned, I was out there properly as a recording artist, had some success, had some fans, luckily enough to have fans. And but was surely not at the Bieber level, right? But I was making enough to be an adult in the world playing music. And what I really found, like so many other artists now find, that knowing my fans and knowing my audience and knowing my customers, right, or whatever you'd call them in a business way, was like still the most important thing. It was always about the fans, and in a world of vanity, and you forget that. When I think back to the problem I was solving, is there was this like massive disintermediation between me and the audience, because the product of like some massive marketing machine. And maybe nobody is now, right? But at least at the time, there was still a machine happening to like pump out the stars, and everyone knows what's going on with the stars of the world. I'd find myself at the merch booth, and some household names, next to me who I'd be on tour with were like, "Oh, poor Ryan's got to go, hustle his fans and sell stuff to them." And, they were half right. I had to do that. Someone, I had to pay for the tour. But what I learned while doing that was that there was this loneliness that was created on the internet when music came out, right? When music and the internet kind of came together, it was far from the technological revelation that like gaming went through. Like, oh my God, we're here together on live broadcasts and communities and in-app purchases and Fortnite skins and this evolution. And music was just like fighting the technology and suing it, right? It was like really it's like war and battle, and then everyone was just on their own trying to connect, and Twitter and whatever it was, but no one was really purpose building for that fan artist relationship where it would bring value to everybody. And not to get too heady, but like that was the problem that was being solved. Like this relationship I have here, knowing my best fans while still being rock starry, not totally kind of having to be, I'm just like everyone, let's be fair. Like it wasn't that. There was still this relationship, but people needed each other. But no one built that. And essentially that's what led us to start around the music. Let's build the content, should be the music. The experience should be the music, not me having to go on a camera and tell you where I'm vacationing or take a picture of my, breakfast in Mogador in Brooklyn, right? Like, so there
What
was,
about like a TikTok style dance? And you
yeah,
could,
and some people are brilliant at that, and it's like nothing to take away from these modern performance artists that we call creators. Like they're beautiful, but often you'll hear someone like Halsey just say, "Really, this is what I have to do now?" And just a few days ago, we were lucky enough to see her tweet that she said Stationhead is honest. I mean, I'm sorry, Stationhead, to be honest, is genius, because again, it's about the music and it's about the fans first. And if you're an artist, like we know that really is the core of what we're all trying to get back to, right? So we could celebrate the music. So that was, I guess, the problem in a long-winded answer.
that wasn't long-winded at all. That's great. And funny connection there. Halsey, her manager was roommates with the lead singer in my band growing up. So about 10 years we toured, and he lived in California and LA, and he was good friends and roommates with her manager. And so
What was your band?
we're called Paradise Fears. So we were at
Hey.
What the band? Did you say where we were based? We grew up in South Dakota, and then we basically it's a whole story. It's we're we're not here to interview, so I won't go doing all of it. But basically, we eventually were able to tour with some bands like All Time Low, and we were very like emo, pop punk, pop rock. But we had toured with her manager's former band at one point, and then he went on to become Halsey's manager, and so that's how kind of where the connection was formed. But anyways, yeah, I mean Halsey's extremely talented, so her saying that about the platform is like very cool.
Oh, that's cool. I say because she famously is outspoken artist against the current norms. But you're way cooler than me knowing the manager. I just know a friend of my friend grew up with the kid who was her baby daddy. So there, let's go. That guy may or may not know Kevin Bacon.
That's it. Okay, we're ending this now until we get Kevin Bacon on the podcast. The quest for bacon. It has begun. All right, cool. So it sounds like you noticed that there's this disconnect. There's this disconnect between artists and their fans, and all these other industries. Like they've really made full use of the internet and the ability to connect together and actually like form these communities. But music was something that's kind of falling behind in terms of like actually being able to build those relationships. And so I'm curious, Stationhead, could you share for someone who isn't familiar yet with like the platform, could you share a little bit about how it's built and kind of specifically how does it solve that challenge of the disconnect?
Well, I could start by telling you like kind of the magic moment the company had when it kind of revealed what it was to us. Because at first you mentioned on the intro about like democratizing radio and like, there was this original sentiment to like do that and kind of modernize this radio idea. Since we found what we are building, we really don't even like use that word anymore, right? It's like a lot of founders you speak to. There's like this moment where you go kind of it's everything you have built, right? But then it's something like you just go a different direction than you thought you were headed in a way. And for us, that was this awesome fateful day, or one of the biggest fan armies found a platform called Stationhead that did something inherently did something that they were doing in all certain ways, like outside of one platform. They were on Twitter listening to music. The new music came out. The new BTS is out. Are you listening? Michael's listening. Brian, you listen? Yeah, I'm all listening. What's up? Like, and it was just like an asynchronous like live thing, and using different platforms to do the same thing. And then they said, hey, over at Stationhead, we could just do this all together in one place. Kind of like Twitch, kind of like the campfire, and Twitch is the video game. For us, it was the fire pit was music, right? And they all came to Station. Let's do it here. And at that moment, we realized, whoa, this is a platform to mobilize fandoms around the world and have them in one place, listening as a community to new music together. Typically in the digital world, a fairly lonely experience. I'm listening alone in my room, maybe while chatting on another thing with other people that were also listening on different. So Stationhead went on to become kind of the go-to listening party application, right? And all of these big releases would start to follow suit by hosting Stationhead listening parties. And they were so loud, and they would trend on the internet, and they would make so much noise that the artist would, this was all without the artist, by the way. And then all of a sudden, what we spent 3 years trying to figure out, if we could only get, Cardi B to go on Stationhead, man, she'd be like our Joe Rogan. We'd be huge, right? You need an influencer. We weren't so lucky to have the means to do that. So just by building really good product and building for this fandom and the fans, it attracted organically the old tried and true way. And literally Cardi B one night coming home from the Grammys, getting tacos in her SUV, sees on Twitter that her fans are having a party on listen, they have a station on Stationhead, my music. And she hops on and says, what's up? And it was that really cool moment when they said, and this is kind of the light bulb that went off in my head of, whoa, this is what we're building. Like a sculpture kind of realizing, it kind of shows itself to you what you're really building. And it was that moment where they said, hey, Cardi, welcome to our channel. Right. And it was, now she was there. It's her music playing, but they're the creators of this thing. And it was a really, really beautiful moment. And since then, we've had 400 top artists on this planet, hang out and come multiple times to Stationhead to hang out with their fans that are, always here supporting their music and being a community.
Wow, that's cool, man. The question that kind of came up, it reminded me of this video that I saw recently, which was funny because out of context, it's like ludicrous. But my YouTube channel has been like recommending videos lately of like videos of Steve Jobs when he was first like young and he was like having like conversations, like interviews, and he was, before everything happened, before Apple happened. And seeing those in context is really interesting. It's sort of being like, wow, like what is happening right now that's sort of like what was happening with him with early on. But specifically what came up for what you're just sharing was around one of the videos that I recommended was a talk show host, maybe it was like David Letterman, and he was talking about the internet, and it didn't age very well. Like the interview didn't age very well because so I think it was Bill Gates, and Bill Gates like, yeah, like the internet is this thing that's happening and it's going to change the world. It's going to change everything. And he's like, David's like, well, okay, like what can you actually do like on the internet? And Bill Gates is like, well, like you can do all sorts of stuff, but like, you could watch, like a game, like you could tune into like a sports game. And David Letterman's like, Bill, like, have you ever heard of the radio? And then like everyone's like, and then Bill's like, yeah, like you're right. And like the clear like insinuation of that, like it was just like throwing stones at the internet. Like, okay, like, this is like way overhyped. Like this is not like a big deal. And so, you mentioned earlier that radio was like a comparison that early on you sort of made. And yeah, I'm curious for someone who in a similar way is sort of like, if the question that's coming up is like, okay, well, how is this actually like different? What would you say is like the main differentiators, kind of what makes this platform unique and something that really is significantly different than like a radio channel?
Yeah, it's a great question and a great observation. It reminds me of, and I don't want to sit here, posing as the visionary as like Steve Jobs might have been, or Bill Gates on one of those shows, because we're all victim of it. I remember when Pro Tools was coming out. I was lucky enough to come up in the analog world and kind of surf my career through the digital, times and make sense of all of this now. But I remember him saying, the sounds are going to be so good in the, on the keyboard and in the computer. And I felt like Zoolander. I was like, in the computer? The sounds are in the computer. Like you need physical air hitting a drum. I spend a week trying to get a sound like the Deftones drum set, and then, now there's Splice, as you know. So it's like, it's so hard to see things and jump, which humbled me greatly. Actually, that particular experience really humbled me to really believe and be an optimist on what's potentially out there, which is coming at a cool time with AI, of course. But to answer your question and to bridge that analog and digital, gap, was that I think my time on the road, like you would know, and that interaction between fans and understanding truly, these people use the word super fan now, like it's like a trendy word in the music industry, which is a little concerning. And what they mean, when these like CEOs of big publicly traded companies talk about super fan, they mean more money to be had, per head, now that streaming's mature, right? And everyone's paying $9 a month. Like, well, what about the people that are spending $200 a month, in the 90s? Like, where are those people? And we just look at them differently. It was more like, I think by doing those parking lot shows for kids that missed the show or couldn't get in, or driving through the night and doing the radio thing in the morning, and kids are outside waiting to sign, like we learned this thing that just never made the jump to music and the internet. Like it just didn't. There was just different problems were solved, and those problems being solved, like water coming out, like water from music coming out of your speaker, like water from the tap, was solved. It's like a beautiful thing, all these platforms that were created. But again, no one was thinking about the loneliness it was creating and the desire to be together. And we see that every day on these massive tours now post-COVID that are launching and like culturally, literally, and physically shaking the world sometimes. They're out there and they want to be together. And there's no reason why that shouldn't be happening on a platform purpose built for mobilizing these fandoms to be together online as well. So kind of, I look more to the physical world of what was of what haven't made the jump to digital more than reinventing radio. Because like I said, we're kind of far from that idea. I think there's other platforms that do that okay. Like there's no shortage of people being able to go on and broadcast somewhere like we're doing right now.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And it sounds like the main core of the platform that you've built and sort of what makes it unique is really about the community part of it and the connection. And you spoke into this concept of loneliness. That's almost like, in some ways, like the internet exists, so it's like we're kind of more connected than ever, but in many ways, like we're more disconnected than ever, and we feel more isolated, even though we have access to the world's information and social media. And with radio, I tend to think of like a one to many situation where there's one source and then there's like many people receiving it, but there's no like you're not interacting, you're not like putting back things, you're not it doesn't necessarily have that same community benefit. Whereas with something like what you've built, they're actually the community itself is like a core part of the platform. And so maybe you could share a few of the features or ideas or things that you've been most impressed by, or that you've just seen people really resonating with as it relates to the community features.
Yeah, I think you just nailed something that makes me think of when you consider Stationhead. I guess consider it two things. First, I'd say consider it more of a grassroots political campaign, and not to get political here, but I'm just saying, when there's a place in Brooklyn that the kids that are supporting their politician are working, and they're putting posters up and making calls and putting stickers on the telephone, and they're working and supporting their art, supporting their person. And then, in comes like a Hillary Clinton, and she's taking pictures and rings bagels and says, "What's up?" And now they're being seen. Now they're being seen, and their person's there, and they feel really close to it, and they have that moment. And then she goes out to do her thing again, the thing that they support and appreciate, and then they keep working and they keep going, and like they remain a community, right? That is what Stationhead feels more like, and what we built towards, versus, okay, we're someone's going to put up content and we're all going to consume it together, and then we're going to disperse back out there, right? It's more of a grassroots campaign, and a mobilization of people to support their artist. Which again, you probably remember this feeling of being on the road, and those were called street teams, back in the day. And then the other way to frame where we're headed and what we see as success, since the beginnings of Stationhead, is you start looking at Stationhead more like a game, right? Like, and I say game, not in like gamification of people's habits, not like that bad word people would use when they're building technology, but the fun part, like these things should be fun. It's fun going to a concert, and you look at Stationhead, and there's these, when I was younger, it might have been prove you're a real fan. I got this. I was into Nirvana first. I was before you. Look at how old my shirt is. It's ripped. Like there were all these things of proving your fandom and connecting with people. Now in Stationhead, it's show me your badge. Show me your all access badge. How do you get an all access badge, man? You listen 7 days straight. You unlock this badge that you earned. I was at that listening party. I shared this out. Like you start unlocking things and becoming a fan and being a fan. It starts to become this experience, this more like the feeling you have like when you're playing Roblox or Fortnite, and in a fun way, right? Like in a never ending experience. And that's when you start looking at it that way. And then as an artist, you start saying, well, where are my best fans? Like, I know who the loudest ones are. There's no shortage of comments online. But man, look at this one. Been listening since, 4 years ago, every day clocks in, supports me, bought these 3 shirts, the bundle, shared it out, helped me trend on Twitter. Like, now it's a two-way thing too. Like I'm supporting, I'm having fun. It's a game. And now my artist can recognize me and support me and shout me out. So like all this starts becoming really fun. Billie Eilish was on with Phineas a few nights ago, and she's shouting out her fans for buying her MP3, and the fireworks are going off. Like you just bought a Robinhood stock, and like she's like, yo, thanks, Michael, love you, and like telling them stories about making the record. And to me, again, it's about fun, it's about togetherness, and that's really what we're after.
Super cool. I mean, that's awesome too that you've it sounds like the platform has kind of evolved in ways that you didn't even realize kind of coming into it. It kind of gave birth to this greater movement, and yeah, a lot of it has come from the communities forming around each other, and then the artists kind of coming in as not someone that's always there, but when they come in, they can kind of really breathe life into these communities. I mean, like,
You're hitting it. You're hitting it now, and it's part like why I'm excited to talk about it, because we have found that, and I think it's new to others that are hearing about Station or to think of us as something when we're headed somewhere else. But everything you just said is right, and I would remind you that it's like, this is the place that you in the end you want artists to be like, where are my fans? The idea that I had, I just opened my Wrapped for all the platforms. Everyone has it now, Spotify and Apple and Amazon, and I'm looking at it, and I'm just like, oh, who are these people, right? I see the numbers, I get it, but who are they? Where are they? And that to me is the thing that I think we do really, really well in that, where are my fans? Like, not how am I doing, but like, where are they? And oh, right here. And you could go talk to them right now from bed, and like that, and they're listening right now. And like that thing is really special from the artist perspective. And then we talked about already what makes it so special from the fan perspective. But yeah, we really have found this thing, this new, idea of really what we are building, and we're having fun doing it.
it's super cool. I mean, the word that keeps coming back to my mind is community, and it seems like that speaks to the challenge. Kind of the purpose of it was that the like you kind of like define like what is community. I feel like in a lot of cases, like social media, is sort of like if you squeeze an orange and you have like fresh orange juice, like that fresh orange juice tastes a lot different than like the prepackaged stuff that's like, gone through 10 different factories.
Yeah.
Like when you squeeze like the orange, it's like, it's real. It's fresh. It's like, there's something, that's very like rich, authentic. And it seems like live connection, live broadcasting, live just being like together in person is the thing that really has that fresh orange juice squeeze. And that's probably why you see platforms like Twitch and platforms like Stationhead filling such an important need in the market, because we have all this prepackaged stuff, but really like what our souls crave is like just real human to human connection and community. And that's what you're creating.
Yeah, you want to smell that orange on your fingernails, and a day later, you're like, oh, let me smell that connectedness. Yeah, I think you nailed it. And look, there's a time and place, like when you're wanting that lean back experience. You want to, you're getting a cleaning at the dentist, and the music's playing, and that works too. That totally works. Totally different use case, right? Like totally different experience. But you're right. Like you want to squeeze it yourself. You want to experience it. I was there. I did that. It feels good.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's probably an even better analogy to the orange juice in that, like,
I like it.
well, in that, like, there's probably stuff that's like really, really good fresh, but then you can like repurpose it and it could last for months or years if you like do a really good job. And it's just like, it's not the same as like the original stuff, but it's still like, it is nice to have videos, and it's nice to have these different like things as well. It's
Were you
just,
a philosophy major?
I wasn't actually out of high school. We just started touring, so I never went to college. But philosophy would have been a good one. I'm definitely interested in, obviously, in this kind of stuff. But cool. So man, I'd love to hear where you think things are headed right now. You talked about how this has really been like a self-discovery process for you and for the platform, and seeing what's really the life that it's taken. I'm curious, this year and the next, 5-10 years, obviously at the time of recording this, there's just like huge revolution happening with generative music and AI, and just AI in general. And I'm curious how, a platform like Stationhead and, kind of solving that need of connectedness. How do you see this evolving in like, the next 5 years?
Having a place where your best fans are at all moments, that you could celebrate them, they could support you, is a big mission, is a 5-year mission. And I think it gets well beyond, we go way beyond the simple idea of a listening party and listening together. I think that was like our first step, and what will slowly become just a piece of the larger community and the larger offering as a platform.
Cool. Yeah. So it sounds like what you're saying is that really, like at its core, the community building and the listening parties are a part of what's made the platform special in the community, but you can see it also expanding from there as well. I mean, the first thing that my mind goes to, and I
In the big picture, I'd love it where your digital music identity is living on Stationhead, and our job would be to build that to be real, and then all of the other things we've talked about come from that.
cool. One thing that comes to mind when I think about the future of like communities and digital communities, especially, and this can come across as sort of a dystopian future because in a lot of cases, like the depiction and like movies and popular media is it's almost never a good thing when we have like super powerful AI or super powerful like technology. Like in all like the movies, it's always like, yeah, like Wally. It's like we're just like get like be like totally checked out and whatnot. But it certainly seems like digital environments and things like VR are right on the precipice of achieving major breakthrough. And you see like Vision Pro starting to come out and Meta Orion that's just got announced. And so it seems like the uh, something like Stationhead, if you build it to be this foundation and this like identity, that maybe a next frontier for building communities online is having live connection points, but like there it is more immersive, where it's not like a screen, but like you're actually like there, and you can go to the community's headquarters and walk around and actually be with each other.
Totally. A lot of people try to turn things on overnight and say like, okay, introducing the metaverse. And I think NFTs tried this and these metaverse worlds. But we all heard the headlines loud and clear, which is like without utility, like it doesn't really stick. And I'm sure there's going to be like multiple things putting together, a lot of puzzle pieces, a lot of different companies that will come together to overnight. Will be like, I think we're kind of in the metaverse now, I guess. But like it wasn't some big overnight thing that like the Vision Pro or something like that, where it's like they told us this is the metaverse. Like I don't think it's going to happen that way. So because of that belief of mine, I very much believe we are one of those pieces. And I believe that you take the experiences right now, and you have Olivia Rodrigo and Sabrina Carpenter, and Nicki Minaj and Rose on just in the last few days with their communities. And now all of a sudden, yes, they're in their worlds. And when I said your digital identity would exist here, I think those digital identities, those badges of honor, or the t-shirt you bought at that listening party or whatever, are going to be things that you can take with you into that world. And Stationhead will be, we like to believe currently we're alive, we're the digital venue, like that's what we are. Every day we fill up multiple Madison Square Gardens, daily, pumping them out, so like so it makes sense to be a part of that thing coming. And I think you'd be spot on to think that we would be a part of that.
So cool. So Ryan, one thing that I wanted to ask you about is related to the specific community that's going to be like listening and watching this, which is mainly independent artists and kind of like artists who are just getting started and are looking to kind of build their initial fan base. And I mean, I think it's absolutely incredible that the wider music industry, and especially like some of these established artists, are starting to come to the platform. That just like creates a community for everyone to come together. Clearly, there's a need for it, and I'm sure that you also have a lot of experience working with people that aren't necessarily Nicki Minaj or Justin Bieber, but are people who are kind of like getting started or maybe earlier on or independent, and they're just looking at they have the exact same need. The exact same need in that they're like, I'm just looking to connect, with my community and to build, to build my audience, my relationships.
Mhm.
I'm curious what your advice would be if someone's listening to this or watching this right now, and they're kind of in that world where like they have big goals and ambitions to kind of build their music and build their communities, but maybe they're a bit earlier on. How would you recommend that they use a platform like Stationhead in order to help them to build those relationships?
Cool. Well, first, reminding me of the audience here, I would take just one moment to acknowledge the great mountain that they're climbing and we're all climbing. I come from that world. I can't stress it deeper. I'm sitting here talking about big stars and now millions of users on our platform and things like that. But very this happened because I was sitting backstage at a concert. I was playing a show. I was at the Bowery Ballroom in New York City, And it was my friend that came to see me because he thought I was some rich rock star he heard on the radio. And I wouldn't have to tell your audience here that it wasn't like that. It's not like that these days. It's like, yeah, it sounds great. And I knew you thought you'd come to party, but let's talk. Like, I don't know where these fans are, how to reach them. I just went to Texas and, promoted the show on Facebook for 3 months, only to come home and read the posts of the pictures that I put out of people saying, I've been waiting 4 years to see you in Texas. I didn't even know you were coming. And that just broke my heart to think I did all that to go to only not get through to these people. So I started this because I was very much on that journey, and have a lot of empathy, but a lot of excitement right now for those people on newer on the journey, because there's a world now where compromises. When I came up, you really kind of had to make some compromises sometimes to get past what were called gatekeepers, and you had to kind of do these things that really had you question who you were, and convince yourself that I'll do this just to get that. And I'm sure you've been there as well, and a lot of band meetings to fighting artistry versus the business. And now we live in a place where, yeah, you don't have to go on tour. You can like pop a video up and be overnight. Like, I get it. But I think the tried and true of like being true to yourself, and you see these artists now kind of after a few records going back to the old school idea of like, it takes time for the good things to happen, I do believe is really true. And I think along the way, and this will connect into Stationhead very quickly, but it's like, all of these moments of success that you have, like everyone has a little highlight reel that they're kind of pumping out and telling people about, that there's so much energy into that. And all of that energy I would use in, like, when you have a spike and you have something that hooked and you got new fans, and it's like, grab those fans, grab each one. Like, those things will come and go, even if you never think about it. Like, there was a moment where like you wouldn't think Justin Timberlake wasn't on top of the world, right? Like, there's never a day he won't be big, And maybe Taylor Swift's the exception, I don't know, but there's always these flows, and that's just how it works. And when you have even the littlest blip of the success, grab that, like, come right back to what's going to consistently make you successful, something you can maintain, because those blips are these like magical, lucky things that you can't replicate. It'd be like Justin Bieber trying to tell you how to become a rock star. You're like, oh, you go on YouTube, you put a video up, and an usher finds you, like, and then some kid like named Scooter like mortgages his house to like the successes are usually once in a lifetime, one of a kind, unique to that person's journey. So someone to tell you what works and to give you advice from their success, it, isn't as valuable as maybe hearing about someone's concrete failures of what didn't work for them. Right. So know that like the successes will come. And when they do come, grab the tried and true, make a fan for life. That's going to pay off, because over time, just like those like TikToks telling you how to invest your money slowly and compound interest over time instead of get rich quick, the same thing happens. And if you're in it to be a pop star overnight, great, go for it. And there's ways to do that, and it works, right? Sometimes. But if you really want to do this, as like, grab each fan and know where they are, and be a part of their story, and let them be a part of yours. And that's what Stationhead is. In all full transparency, the reason I talk about these big artists is we got really lucky. The thing that we created technologically really spoke to these global, massive platforms, and because they're so loud on Twitter and we trend on Twitter, the big stars would find out about it naturally. It wasn't really cutting through the noise for the starter artist. Like, I built this for myself, and the kind of artist I was, it wouldn't really work for as great right now. That being said, so what I'm trying to say is, we're not a discovery platform. You're not going to go on Stationhead like you would go on TikTok and find your audience, right? And overnight. And I say this yet, like, we have bigger plans of where we're headed, but right now you're not going to go on Stationhead and be like, oh my God, I just all these fans just came and found me, and now I'm a famous rock star. But what you can do is bring the 10 fans you have and start creating a really meaningful experience around the music. Play some songs that from Spotify or Apple, and talk to the audience, and then meet them back next week and tell some friends, and like, grow that, because with what we're building and what you're building, you'll always know where these fans are. And I've seen indie artists come with like no streams, and then a few weeks later show me their Spotify chart, and they got like 10,000 streams. Just because they put their audience in the right spot. They didn't value the likes on Instagram as much as they liked the engagement on Stationhead. So if you're not number fixated, and you can stomach, a small room in a venue in South Dakota, then yeah, hop on and start building your presence on Stationhead for sure. It'll pay off over time.
Awesome. Yep. So it sounds like what you're saying is that, the fundamental of you being true to yourself and making music that, authentically expresses who you are is an important starting point. And to say like there's a one size fits all approach isn't going to work, just because everyone's journeys are unique and they're different. And so, Justin Bieber has his own story. And so you can't necessarily just go do the exact same thing as Justin Bieber, but it is something that you'll find yourself, as long as you keep taking steps and you focus on, during those ups and downs, actually building a meaningful connection with those fans when they come in. And how you could use a platform like Stationhead is, regardless of where you're at, if you have 10 fans, if you have 100 fans, like start building the community, start building the connection, and that'll help you to continue growing over time.
It was cool. The original thing was, again, with Stationhead, every user logs in with their streaming platform, right? So again, when 10 people are listening to your station, if we played a song right now, it would generate 10 streams instantly. So if you are on tour opening for a headliner and they got some juice, have them go on and play your song. We had Cardi B played some unsigned artist, and in 30 seconds the kid had 20,000 streams, because she played it in front of her whole audience that was listening to her. But it goes the other way too. And it's again, it's all of these streams count as premium streams, which is really cool, just to be really specific to the original value prop of how we built this for artists that might be looking for that too.
That's awesome. Yeah. So it sounds like when artists hook up their accounts, or when fans hook up their accounts, it actually streams it on the platform. So not only are you bringing people together and building that relationship, but it's also benefiting the actual platforms they're streaming on as well.
Yeah. The idea was not a zero-sum game, and it was bring your own music. The music's soft, everyone's got it. It's ubiquitous. Just bring that and bring your fans. You got 100 fans listening. You play your song a few times. It's got a bunch of streams that night. In the right spot, and you had some fun.
Awesome. All right. Well, Ryan, man, it's been great connecting, and yeah, I think one of the things that I feel most grateful for with this platform is being able to hear over and over again different stories of success, and you hearing your story and your journey about what you've discovered and kind of seeing it take life of its own and kind of building something bigger than yourself. It's exactly what you're describing. It's like I get to see no one's stories are exactly the same, but there are patterns and there's things that that people have in common, and there's different ways that you kind of have a finger on the pulse. So I'm always grateful to have conversations like this and get a wider perspective of what's happening right now, especially as it relates to what you described of in today's day and age. How do you connect in an authentic way with other humans on the internet? So thank you for the platform that you built. I'm really excited I'm personally going to hop on. To be totally honest, I did a little bit of research beforehand. I was checking it out, but I'm really excited to go all in on Stationhead and start attending some different stations and exploring it. And I think that there's also a lot of opportunity to explore related to what we're doing with Body Musician and the Street Team. We actually have a platform that we're doing called Street Team right now. So you mentioned Street Team earlier, and it's very much so. It's same value, same heart as what you're describing. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for integrations there.
Yeah, go and get it. Even this platform in a live way, and you can play some songs on it too, obviously, because it's all authenticated, and it'd be really, really fun. I'll tune in for sure, so we can do it there.
Awesome. Well, hey, Ryan, thank you again for taking the time to be here today. And for anyone that is listening or watching this right now who wants to go check out the platform, what's the best place for them to go to dive deeper?
Yeah, just it's stationhead.com will get you to the right place. You can download the app from there and follow us just to feel the heartbeat of what's happening. You can get a feel for it, on X or Instagram or something like that. But yeah, stationhead.com. And then since we're in a sea of artists, if there's any great mixer producers out there, I'm trying to lay down some tracks finally. As Ryan Starr is my artist name. You can check that out in my career there. But it's hard for me to find the time with all these Zoom calls to finish a track. So hit me up, Ryan Starr, if you guys want to collaborate too.
Awesome. Well, like always, put all the links in the show notes for easy access. And Ryan, thanks again for taking the time to be on the podcast today.
I appreciate it. You're great at what you do, man. I'm genuinely a fan, so thank you.
Oh, thanks, man. Appreciate being a part of it.
Cool.